Today, our topic of conversation will be the greatest demon detective in the world, at least in the Invincible Universe. Yep, I am indeed talking about Damien Darkblood. While his story is easily forgotten in the comic pages of the overarching lore, the show actually gives his character a rather refreshing arc. In fact, in the latest episode of Invincible Season 4, we see Damien Darkblood almost sharing the spotlight with our titular hero. The demon was originally investigating the murder of the Guardians of the Globe, before mysteriously disappearing in Invincible issue 16, and since then, we have never heard from him again. While Darkblood would also appear in a couple of issues of the Astounding Wolf Man series, his involvement with the Invincible Universe was never acknowledged again. Sure, there are many factors that may have contributed to Damien Darkblood's exclusion from the series, but the real fans never erased him from memory. Having said that, the show did a banger job at bringing back Damien Darkblood in a completely new storyline that shed some light on the comic mystery. So, without wasting another moment, let's discuss this quirky demon detective to the T.
Talk. Pathetic.
What makes Damien Darkblood such a cool character? If you jog your memory and think back to the events of Invincible Season 1, you might find it easy to remember Damien the Demon Detective. After Omni-Man murdered the Guardians of the Globe, Cecil Stedman put Darkblood on the case. But once he got too close to the truth, Cecil in turn sent Darkblood back to hell by using a reconstructed version of Demonius Ex Mortem in order to prevent him from confronting Omni-Man before Cecil himself could find out the reason behind that fiasco and was ready to reveal the real murderer to the world. Following his exile, Damien would become a sorcerer and reunite with his family in hell after putting himself in the service of its former ruler, Satan. We don't see Damien again until Season 3, that too in a post-credits scene where he's sitting in hell and talking to his master, Satan. Even though Darkblood's involvement in the comics is forever lost to history, the end credits scene of Invincible Season 3 had finally given us hope that we may get to see the story that was never told. During the scene, we see Damien meeting with another unknown demon and speaking of how darkness has been awakened on Earth and that it was time for the Dark One to rise. The entire scene was completely new for the show, and so just like you, I too was excited to see where Kirkman took this story. Finally, the 4th episode of Invincible Season 4 followed up on that demonic tease with the show's first wholly original storyline where we see Damien and his entire demon brethren fighting a fiery villain called Volcanica. It also gives us a closer look on what hell really looks like in the Invincible Universe. According to this refreshing in-universe cosmology, heaven actually does not exist, and as Damien muses to Mark, it is just a concept that humans choose to make up a fictional paradise instead of building one on Earth. Not just that, even the concept of God is apparently not verified because it is easier for humans to believe there is an all-forgiving higher power benevolent enough to not hold them accountable for their sins. However, hell and Satan are also not quite the Christian conception of it, because as it turns out, hell is not just another realm, but a location deep in the earth, and so it is the literal underworld. In fact, Mark even speculates that if he flew up through enough rock, he would eventually get back home, but Damien overrules that theory by mentioning that he would probably run out of energy before coming close to the Earth's surface. We also learn that life on Earth, as per Damien, has had 6 different ages of existence. The first is believed to be the most powerful, as it was populated by very superior creatures. The second was the Age of Monsters, as it is characterized by the colossal creatures, or kaijus, that occasionally appear now to fight modern heroes. Then we have the Third Age, which is said to be a chaotic and mysterious period that was so traumatic that even demons refused to speak about it. The Fourth Age, on the other hand, was dominated by the Vials, who are subterranean creatures powerful enough to take down the strongest opponents. They fought with demons for eons before demons drove the Vial into hell, where they remained imprisoned and tortured for all of eternity. That is where all the stories about hell being a prison for evil souls come from. Coming to the Fifth Age, it marks the rise of Satan and his demons. Ironically, Mark learns that Satan is basically a hero because if it were not for him, humanity would not exist as the Vials would crawl the earth. Finally, the Sixth Age is the current era of humans that can thrive because of their false sense of balance and the stories they cook up in the name of hope and faith. Having said that, the reason why Damien used the last of the Guardian's blood to exorcise Mark to hell was because of the Volcanica-shaped issue that plagued hell. Apparently, Volcanica seized Satan's power by chucking his molten crown into a bottomless pit and wanted to free the Vial from the depths of hell in order to destroy humanity. Even though the entire Darkblood clan tried to stop her tirelessly, they were no match to her overwhelming strength. Damien's first choice for the job was Omni-Man, but he had no clue that the Viltrumite had left Earth a long while ago and inadvertently summoned his son, Invincible, who really was the next best option. Mark then helped retrieve Satan's crown by fighting Cerberus. After hearing the full story of Volcanica's plans and eventually restored the Dark One to his full strength. Anyways, together they stopped the Vials from rising while also defeating Volcanica and her Magnamites. thus allowing Satan to rise back in power in Hell. Mark then returns to the surface, leaving Hell in the hands of the devil and Darkblood, with his actions clearly setting the stage for another encounter down the road. Not just that, Damien was also allowed by Satan to return to the surface world with Invincible, as he had now repaid his debt in full. Upon his return, Damien was also tasked by Satan to investigate and figure out why Volcanica aimed to conquer the surface world in the first place. Where Darkblood factors in again in the future remains to be seen, but Mark's journey to Hell has been a long time coming. What happened to Damien Darkblood in the Invincible comics? In the original Invincible comics created by writer Robert Kirkman and artists Cory Walker and Ryan Ottley, Damien Darkblood was really more of a joke character. He first shows up in Invincible issue 8 after being hired by Cecil Stedman to investigate the murder of the Guardians of the Globe. Throughout his investigation, he begins to suspect Omni-Man but believes it to be a false story and continues to come up with dead ends. Now, Damien Darkblood is not exactly sent back to Hell in the comics by Cecil. He is simply written out of the story after issue number 16. We last see him turning up at the Pentagon, wanting to tell Cecil that he had leads on the Guardians' murders long after Omni-Man had been publicly exposed as the killer. Unfortunately, Cecil's secretary tells him that the whole issue is already over and done with, leading a grumbling Damien to walk away. It would not be true if I said that he was never seen again, because Darkblood does appear in a tiny single panel cameo in issue number 100, while showing his face among a collage of other people reacting to the global news of Invincible's supposed death on live TV. Not just that, the Demon Detective also made a few more minor appearances in 3 issues of Kirkman's comic, The Astounding Wolf Man, which is set in the same universe as Invincible, but he never returned to Invincible itself. In fact, Kirkman even wrote in the letters page for The Astounding Wolf Man, issue number 15, that he'd considered writing an Invincible Goes to Hell story arc, co-starring Damien Darkblood, but then decided against it. However, while making the Invincible show, Kirkman reconsidered it, and that is how Damien Darkblood's more dramatic exit in the cartoon set the story up for season 4's Invincible in Hell story arc. Having said that, besides being a detective in the comics, Damien also has powers, including enhanced strength, durability, regeneration, heightened senses, and immortality. It is said that Darkblood has a vast knowledge of magic, but the character explicitly stated in Astounding Wolf Man issue number 23 that he did not use magic and was only resistant to heat. Even then, at this point Damien Darkblood still remains a complete mystery to both comic fans and those who have only watched the show. What is Damien Darkblood's character like? So, Darkblood is of average human height, has a round belly, red skin, and a somewhat long tail. He has a yellow sclera with white irises in his eyes, and grey hair featuring a white geometric pattern shaved section. He also has a wide nose, a sturdy chin with 2 horn-like extensions on the sides, and ears that are pointed and facing outward. In this universe, demons have hands that consist of only 4 fingers, an index finger, a middle finger, a ring finger, and a thumb. Lastly, Damien's outfit features a snug, 2-toned grey undershirt adorned with an abstract, geometric design on the chest, a cream raincoat left unbuttoned, and a russet fedora topped with a grey band. He is usually seen without shoes, probably because it is just the way he likes it. Having said that, Darkblood is a composed character with minimal emotion. He has a flat, raspy tone, and when he's in conversations with others, Damien is rather candid and blunt regarding the facts, which frequently makes him appear unwelcoming or impolite. He argues that the subtleties of human communication are hard for him to understand, even if he might be intentionally stimulating. Cecil Stedman and Omni-Man, both notably tough characters, perceive him as unpleasant and intimidating because of his straightforwardness and dry humour, leading them to insult the demon during every meeting. But despite his outward appearance, Darkblood identifies himself as a remorseful demon who values justice, strives to perform good deeds, and largely avoids going back to his life in Hell. The only times we see Darkblood exhibit any form of aggression occurs when Cecil banishes him to Hell, but he only curses Cecil for his stubborn choices, and when Donald Ferguson appears somewhat frightened of him, Damien snarls in response. I think Darkblood's biggest vulnerability is his excessive self-assurance. His determination to reveal the truth is so unwavering that he is completely unafraid and indifferent to any repercussions that might arise from disclosing a truth too early. In addition to that, as Cecil notes, Damien Darkblood tends to view situations in a single dimension while disregarding the broader context in perilous situations and unwilling to adjust his beliefs, especially when they contest his views on morality. His defiant demeanour and rigid actions have rendered him almost unmanageable, leading to frequent solitude. He was excessively sure that neither Omni-Man nor Cecil could oppose him, failing to recognise how far both would go to stand against him. But from what we see in the recent episode, it seems like Damien Darkblood had done more than enough to make up for the time he had abandoned Hell and his overlord. He seems to be very committed to Satan's cause and was willing to even sacrifice his life to stop Volcanica to literally raise Hell on Earth. What is next for Damien Darkblood in the Invincible show? I know all comic fans have noticed that Invincible has been adapting the comic book series while changing small details and still sticking pretty close to the source material. Elements like Machine Head taking over the Order and Debbie getting a bigger role were changed for the Prime Video series, but not without honouring Robert Kirkman's source material. However, Herm is the first truly original addition the show has made to the story. While Darkblood and even Volcanica are part of the comics, the story that sees Mark being pulled into the depths of hell never made it to the pages of Invincible. Like I previously mentioned, the plan was to always send Mark to hell, but Kirkman kept cutting the story in favour of other avenues as he just never found the right time or place to weave it into the story. Still, he always wanted to send Invincible to hell, because every superhero story, be it in DC or Marvel Comics, has some chapter where they go to hell and fight the devil, but Kirkman never got around to doing anything like that in Invincible as the plot kept getting sidetracked, and there was never a good time until of course the Invincible show presented him with the opportunity. Not only that, this new storyline also seems to link some new strings to Mark's fate, which will likely come back into play before the season is over. It is possible that Mark is the person Darkblood teased at the end of season 3 while saying that a blackened heart will be bound to your service. Even if that still remains to be seen, Darkblood and the devil will be factored into the later parts of the season, which seems to be building to the Viltrumite War. Even the maker himself has assured that as the first original addition to the Invincible series, Darkblood's hellish narrative looks set to impact future events, with the character's continued presence bringing more surprises that even we comic readers won't be ready for when the Viltrumite War finally comes along. While we know what to expect from Thrag's introduction and the tease of the impending Viltrumite War, Darkblood's resurgence definitely adds twists and turns that will be completely unpredictable. For the first time in Invincible's 4-season run, a true curveball is floating through the story, with no way to tell when or how it will finally come back around, thus posing exciting future possibilities. Having said that, do you think Damien Darkblood and Satan would extend a helping hand to Invincible and Omni-Man in the upcoming Viltrumite War? Damien Darkblood's anatomy explored. There was just so much we did not know about the demon detective until the latest episode, especially for comic readers because we never really got to see him in action until the fight with Volcanica in the show. So, without wasting another moment, let's understand just how powerful Damien Darkblood really is. Darkblood is equipped with magical abilities. As a demon, Damien Darkblood possesses innate magical abilities and a great understanding of it, which he channels during his paranormal investigations. His magic might be subtle, but it is effective, as it enhances his senses by revealing hidden truths and assisting in uncovering supernatural elements linked to crimes. Damien also appears capable of manifesting himself anywhere at will, while seemingly being unhindered by physical barriers or conventional security. Unless a location is warded by supernatural protections or disrupts any magical forces, he can appear without a warning. Naturally, as a demon, Damien radiates a supernatural aura that causes unsettling disturbances in the environment. Whenever he appears, the temperature noticeably drops, and the air becomes cold enough for people to see their breath, which is considered as an ominous phenomenon that signals his arrival. This chilling effect not only unnerves those nearby, but also serves as a subtle marker for those in the know, like Cecil, who was the only one who could detect his presence. Even Omni-Man has started to suspect something unnatural had entered his home due to these eerie signs. Damien also has psychometric abilities, so Damien possesses the psychic ability of psychometry, which allows him to receive vivid impressions from making any sort of physical contact with the evidence or the remains of the victims. Through this connection, he can easily witness key moments of a crime, particularly the victim's final moments and the manner of their death. However, while these visions offer valuable insight into how a crime occurred, they stop right before revealing the identity of the perpetrator, thus leaving crucial pieces of the mystery unresolved and making it difficult for the demon detective to solve the case. Can demons in the Invincible Universe die? So, as a demon, Damien Darkblood is superhumanly strong and can lift tons, but as we see in the latest episode of Season 4, the demon cannot fly, and rather has to crawl up to high buildings. But Damien possesses a near impervious resistance to physical damage and is immune to heat and fire. He can also survive in the harshest environments like the bottom of the sea or the void of space, probably because he spent most of his existence in the warmth of hell. Not just that, Darkblood's healing abilities allow him to recover from wounds that have removed large sections of his body. This means that Damien is effectively immortal and incapable of dying by natural means. Having escaped from hell, he earns limited reprieves in the mortal realm by solving high priority cases, which suggests that his existence is bound more by infernal contracts than physical vulnerability. His apparent indifference toward threats, even from beings as powerful as Nolan, implies that death holds no real consequence for him, either because he cannot truly die or because he has already endured the worst that existence has to offer. In Season 4, Episode 4, we see Satan bring back the entire Darkblood clan back from the dead after they were killed by Volcanica, so seeing that, we can assume that demons in this universe cannot die until Satan wants them to stay dead. Even as a demon, Damien is a good investigator. I guess we all know that Damien is an exceptional paranormal investigator who is distinguished for his sharp intuition, deductive brilliance, and deep understanding of both human and supernatural behaviour. He was one of the few to correctly deduce that Omni-Man had murdered the Guardians of the Globe, well before anyone else, at least in the show. His accuracy was so precise that even Cecil feared Damien would expose the truth too early and provoke the Viltrumite threat before they were ready to act. He is also well versed in demonic rituals and arcane knowledge, even knowing how to summon other demons or superheroes like Invincible, which really gives his character an edge. What are Damien Darkblood's vulnerabilities as a demon? Now in the comics, Damien is said to be vulnerable to magic, even if he has great understanding of the arcane. It is also said that he is vulnerable to iron and cannot cross barriers or boundaries unless he has been invited. But in the show, we see how despite being a demon, Damien can be forcibly returned back to hell through a specific ritual of exorcism. To perform it, Damien must be contained within a large white circle near a ritual table, likely functioning as an altar, while holding a burning candle, an iron bell, and the Demonius Ex Mortem, which is a Latin spellbook or sacred text. As we see in season 1, during his exorcism to hell, one participant has to read a spell from the tome while another rings the iron bell. The ritual then triggers a surge of supernatural energy in the form of a gust of wind that fills the space, followed by the appearance of a glowing red pentagram inside the circle. From it, spectral chains emerge to bind Damien and drag him back into a portal that leads directly to hell. Well, that brings us to the very end of this video. I am truly loving the new tweaks and the invigorating, fresh storylines in Invincible Season 4 so far, and it has certainly been a delight to see Damien in action. Having said that, what do you guys think about the expansion of Darkblood's character for the show? Do you think he will have a major role to play in the upcoming Viltrumite War? Let us know about your thoughts and opinions in the comment box below.